Clyde Council's education part of the Education and Communities Committee. This will be taken held remotely and also in person, and will be filmed and recorded for live and subsequent broadcast available through the Council's website. I believe there might be some interest from the BBC in that, so just to make you aware of that. The Council is a data controller under the General Data Protection Regulations and Data Protection Act 2018. We broadcast and record Council meetings to fulfil our public task obligation to enable members of the public to observe the democratic process. Data collected during this process will be retained in accordance with the Council's published policies available through the Council's website. Members of the Council are reminded that they should follow the Council's established meetings protocols, including around the use of the chat facility, and the comments made in the chat facility are visible to all participants in the meeting, which may include members of the public who have received invites to the meeting. So with that in mind, can I ask Diane to go for apologies, declarations of interest and roll call?
We have an apology from absence from Councillor Moran, with Councillor Cassidy substituting, and Councillor Wilson, and also an apology from James Doherty from the Education Representatives. Convener will now move to an attendance roll call before proceeding to the declaration of interest. Can the following members please indicate if they're present at the meeting, either in person or remotely? Councillor Armstrong.
Present in the chamber.
Councillor Brennan.
Present in person.
Councillor Cassidy.
Present in the chamber.
Councillor Clougherty.
Present in the chamber.
Councillor Daisley.
Present remotely.
Councillor Law.
Present in the chamber.
Councillor McGuire.
Present.
Councillor McVeigh.
In chamber.
Councillor Quinn.
In the chamber.
Councillor Robertson.
Present in the chamber.
Reverend Burt.
Present remotely.
Reverend Donaldson.
Present in chamber.
Ms McEwen.
Present remotely.
Ms MacDonald.
Present remotely.
Do we have any further declarations of interest to those declared at the communities part of the meeting?
No, nothing on the chat, nothing. Well, welcome everybody, and Paul, welcome to yours. I've welcomed you along to the first part of the meeting, so I hope you enjoy your education bit of the agenda. Can we quickly move along to agenda item number 7, which is an update on the parental representative for the education panel. Michael, do you want?
So through you, convener, you'll know that over time we have endeavoured to try and find ourselves a parental representative for the education part of the committee, and I'm delighted to say that at our September 23 meeting of Children Parent Councils, we had one nomination, 1.5 for this role, coming from Fiona MacDonald, our Gowan Primary Council Chair. Since there's only one nomination received for the parent representative role, a ballot just not required. So the recommendation of the report is that the committee is asked to approve the appointment of Fiona MacDonald as parent representative to serve on the Education Communities Committee in accordance with the scheme of arrangements.
Thank you. Fiona, can I welcome you along to the committee? Obviously, the fact that you were the one person put forward shows how well you were thought of by all the parents within Inverclyde doing that. So hopefully you'll find this informative and you'll enjoy your time in that. And before we end the paper, does anybody want a comment to make? Elizabeth.
Very quick comment, because I asked about this every time. We've not had anybody in this role. I've been asking about this every time we've met as a committee, and I just don't think you can see the absolute joy on everybody's faces. It's not online, it's in the chamber. There's big broad smiles here for the simple fact that you've joined us in the committee, so thank you.
Thank you for having me along.
Can we agree the recommendation?
Yep.
Welcome along, Fiona. Can we move on to agenda item number 8, which is the revenue update report? Ian?
Thanks, convener. So this is the education revenue budget report for period 7, and that's up to the end of October 23. The current education revenue budget is 102.79 million. The latest projection is an overspend of 302,000, and that's a decrease in expenditure of 411,000 since the last committee. As always, section 3.3 of the report lists the main variances responsible for the projected overspend, and the majority of the overspend relates to ASN budgets and transport, and that's been a kind of common theme for this year. It should be noted that a one-off budget pressure of 600,000 was approved at the November Policy and Resources Committee, and 100,000 of that will be used in this current financial year to reduce the projected overspend for the ASN transport, and it has been included within this report. In addition, there's a credit of 127,000 has been received for school strike days. An additional funding of 247,000 has been received for the teachers induction programme. So those items together are the main reason for the reduction in the projected overspend. So moving on to section 3.4 of the report and appendix 4, that provides details of earmarked reserves, and at the moment there's no slippage to report as expenditure is ahead of the planned schedule. I'm not requesting any environments in this committee cycle, so committee are just asked to note the projected overspend of 302,000 for the 23-24 revenue budget. They're also asked to note the reduction in the overspend since the last time. I think the last time we said we would carry out some actions to bring it down, because you can see that that's happened. And finally, committee are asked to note that the communities part of the committee, which was reported earlier today, is currently projecting an underspend of 210,000, and that's also going to partially offset this projected overspend. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. I'll open up to any questions. Nobody in the room? Oh, sorry, Pam.
Thank you. Yes, thanks for the report. Just a quick query. I'm on page 53, paragraph 3.3, point N. It's about the school meals under recovery. One of the schools where I attend the parent council had an issue with the tills about, and what I was being told there was that problems with the tills created delays and young people were being put off. And I think I posed a question before, possibly not in the committee, offline. And I think there's a work stream going on about these tills. Is that right? Is there any update on that?
Is it Eddie yourself? I'll let Ruth come in first, and then Eddie if she requires.
And in fact, it's within Tony's remit because he's taken forward the review. We spoke to the young people who told us actually the queues in the tills and the lack of choice, and also the fact that we can't necessarily match the food to the young people will be helped by a new ICT system. And I think there's good news from Tony that that's progressing. And it will be in, I don't know the date when we're expecting it to be in, but I know it's going through the process just at the moment.
Tony, would you like to comment?
Yeah.
Tony, you're on mute.
Yes.
Anyway, the synopsis is it's good news. It's in hand. We've got the system is almost near completion.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Tony, I notice you've still got your hand up there. Is that you're able to speak now, or you're going to bring it down? Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Nothing here, nothing online. Can we agree the recommendations that 2, 2.1, 2.2 and 2.3? Thank you. Can we move along to agenda item number 9, which was a capital programme? Eddie, would you like to take us through the capital programme?
Yeah, thanks, convener. Education capital programme, there's a limited number of items on it. The work streams associated with the CO2 sensors and free school meals are both complete. So the main activity is through the life cycle allocations, and the appendix 2 provides a summary of the work that's been ongoing throughout the financial year, with an update on anything that's been added since the last report. slight acceleration being reported in terms of the life cycle expenditure, and we're already planning our programme for the coming financial year. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Eddie. I'll open up to any questions. Yeah. Just one from myself, Eddie. I think I had said before, the information that you provide in Appendix number 2 is fantastic, because everyone can see exactly what's happening in this specific school. I don't know if there'd be any value to put a monetary amount beside those to let them know exactly how much we're spending on each school. I'll leave it up to yourself, but I can see how that would be of interest both to members and to the school themselves, so they would exactly know, or when people go to the parent council, they'd be able to say, well, I know that, and please forgive me, I'll use the example of Argyle, that X amount is getting spent on whiteboards or toilet refurbishments or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. It is possible to put financial information in that appendix. I can endeavour to include that in the next report. Yep.
Thank you, Eddie. Elizabeth?
A quick question, I'm just picking it up actually from Appendix 2. The limited number of facilities that we have, I know this is public people, I can see names of schools but they like it, that have got rack issues. I'm just wondering why that's just noted in life cycle works, because is it just a life cycle work or is it a specific expenditure? Because we wouldn't have budgeted for it and things, and I'm just wondering why it's in under the radar as a life cycle item.
I'll bring Eddie in on it.
Yeah, through you, convener. I mean, it is related to the life cycle of a particular material. You know, it has been identified that this material does need to be remediated in the kind of medium term. So that will be subject to a future report that we bring back to committee on how we do that and the costs associated with that. But it is correct to point out that, you know, the potential costs associated with that are unlikely to be able to be contained within our current life cycle allocation. And that allocation obviously is for the whole estate and not just a single specific item in an individual school. But, you know, RAC is something we will be bringing back a report on to committee at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Eddie. Elizabeth, is that okay?
Great, thanks.
Do we have any other questions? Can't see anything online. Well, Tony is just good enough to write to us and say the new system will be installed for April 2024 across all secondary schools. Okay, Pam?
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you.
And with that, can we agree recommendation 2.1?
Please.
Thank you. Can we move on to education paper number 10? And that is just an overview of local and national initiatives, and including again some very good news. Michael?
So if you look at there's a number of items within the report outlined at 1.3. I don't take all of them. I refer to a few in particular. I'm prepared to take questions about any item. The recommendation of the report is to note the contents. Starting at 3.1, we've got 2 inspector inspections since the previous committee. We've now reports on public domain, and you'll note that in both the services have been evaluated and some indicators very good. Particularly pleased for both, obviously, particularly pleased for Clayford and Craig Marlow, very good outcomes in relation to QIs there. Across 3.3, 3.4, the current position around reform is described as a stasis. It's a bit of an unknown. We're waiting, I suppose, for decisions to be taken at government level. But 3.5 will note that since we last met, we it was on that day, in fact, that an announcement the EP's committee was sitting. That included an announcement about this consultation in relation to the education bill, with the news about the RICS season 2, what we take without came. So we had to respond to that by the 18th of December. That fell prior to meeting sitting. So we utilised emergency powers to have that shared, and you'll find at Appendix 1 the full response. This was particularly around the road inspector, particularly around aspects of the qualifications authority. So you'll have seen in Appendix 1 questions that consultation asked of us, And we did have an opportunity to speak with and get feedback from school leaders as part of that process and encourage them to also respond to the consultation. 3.6, which will link with the annual publication of achievement of level for excellence outcomes for 2023, and that's we've also shared in the reply data with your members briefing. This is now the national picture and across primaries, the levels are just really 1, 4, 7 and S3. Also, since we last met, we reported to the stretch Eagles, but this is now the completion of 3.7 with the overview of those nationally. Again, I won't go to those. I'm not going to say too much about the other items, so we're more going to be noting any information, but not insurmountable in relation to what they cover. And particularly wanted to draw your attention to 3.12 to something you're aware of, something from our reporting to the committee, further to reports to committee related to the need to maintain teacher numbers in the 2023 census. And that was the numbers compared to 2022. We have received communication December 23 that in relation to this in Clyde had a difference of or 11 FTE equivalent per teacher less between 22 and 23. We were asked to respond in writing with any mitigations as to what that difference equated to, and again reported this to the committee. We shared the response by the deadline the 19th of December, and at this stage we'll need feedback in response to our communication. Key factors shared being the Scottish Government's tapering down the Scottish Attainment Challenge funding that we receive year on year, which will happen again come April 2024, and the full spending of the underspend that we had against the 1140 earlier year's budget, and that we agreed with the government colleagues that we would keep that within the market reserve, and that money was spent in a variety of ways, part of the spending to teach numbers as part of the recovery process. So if mitigations are not accepted, this could mean that 9 FTE worth of funding will be withheld from the council in the next budget settlement. That's at 3.12. Other than that, I won't say too much more, but I'm also happy to take any questions, and as I say, the recommendations to move the
Okay, thank you, Michael. I'll bring Francesca in first of all.
Thanks very much, Convener, and thanks, Michael, for taking us through that report. I just want to go into the teacher numbers update a little bit more, not just because it was the last point that you mentioned. So yeah, as you said, 9 fewer teachers than we had at the same period in 2022, and I have no doubt that council officers and our education staff will make sure that that reduction and the impact of it will be contained in order to minimise any detrimental impact, and you've been able to see why teacher numbers are down. But the numbers down here are by 9, and I did a bit of digging and realised that we are far from unusual in that. In fact, they're down in just over half of Scotland's 32 local authorities. I think in 17 areas the teacher numbers are down, and it shows that it's mostly in primaries, additional support new provisions and nurseries. So it's really the youngest, and I suppose in some cases the more vulnerable young members of our community who are going to be most affected. So quite a worrying national picture. So I was looking into it, and like you mentioned, if the mitigations are not accepted, so Education Secretary General Gilruth has said that she's written to express her disappointment. So I was thinking, like, disappointment is quite a measured term to use if you're Education Minister for Scotland and you realise that your government hasn't given local authorities enough money to maintain or increase teacher numbers. You'd be expecting to see some sort of action, because we've given the reasons for why we've been affected here in Inverclyde. She's also said that if teacher numbers are not maintained in line with 2022 figures, which I think we're also down, then the Scottish Government may withhold funding, as you said in your report, or recoup funding. So I know you're saying you're waiting to hear from Scottish Government on that. Do you have any expectation about what they're going to say, or any timescale that you're expecting on that?
Michael,
Thank you.
No. I mean, like many people, I listened to part of committee last week, and there was some indication that this was an ongoing process. We haven't heard anything yet. We expect to. Part of what was reported and some of what was communicated is that message will be given to mitigations that were put forward. So we would hope that these are genuine mitigations beyond our control and that will be taken into consideration.
Thanks.
Ruth, you get anything to add? No. Okay. Any other questions? No other questions, nothing online. I suppose it'd be remiss of not congratulating both Inverkid Primary School and Craig Marlow for their excellent results on that inspection. And we're used to in Inverclyde seeing very goods and goods, but it doesn't get away from the fact that this is due to the fact that they're taught in well-maintained schools and they're taught by fantastic teachers. So just well done to Inverclyde Primary School and Craig Marlow. And can we move along to, if we can agree the paper and move along to the next agenda item?
So through you, Convener,
Michael, sorry.
the purpose of this report is to provide the education communities with the outcome established consultation to establish a catchment area for secondary Gaelic provision in Inverclyde Academy for the academic year beginning August 2024. Again, we've reported on the journey we've been on in relation to secondary Gaelic for a number of committees, and you'll recall we got permission to carry out this statutory consultation. Just to be clear, this is on establishing a catchment area versus consulting on establishing the actual provision itself. And we went through the process as we outlined at the last committee, and the background context section number 3 outlines that process and the fact that we've now been through the consultation. At section 4, essentially what we've come to is that on closing 4.2 the consultation in November 2023, we received also a report from Education Scotland on what we had submitted and what we had received in terms of representations, both written and oral. And the report from Education Scotland has summarised their view of the consultation. 4.3, you'll find that they are in agreement with this, and the general consensus of the consultation process was an agreement to the consultation proposal being that we keep the catchment area. We had a limited response to this consultation, both in person and through our online portal. But at the same time, the Education Scotland process was to go to Bunhill and to the Academy to speak to stakeholders there about the proposal, and it's very positive feedback. So overall, very positive feedback about the consultation and the proposed recommendation, to committee is that we approve or reapprove that a secondary catchment area is established for Gaelic education in Inverclyde Academy for the academic year beginning August 2024. I'm happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Michael. I'll open up to any questions. I've got Elizabeth. Elizabeth.
Thanks, conveners. So thank you for taking the process up to this point and doing all the consultations that have been required. We've obviously got a response here. I certainly would be happy for us to kind of say that there should be a catchment area today. I'm not planning on putting a spanner in any works on that account, just so you know. But if we do that, if we approve the catchment area report and then that's settled, that becomes a thing with the process to make it happen. What happens with the rest of the deal? Then how do we've set a catchment area? What are the next steps?
Michael.
Through you, convener, as you'll recall, Councillor Robertson, we established an advisory group around this whole process, and we've continued to meet and made committed to continue to meet, and part of that has been to identify the next steps beyond this consultation process today. Obviously, we're waiting on this approval today. It's kind of the final tick in the box that needs to be secured to progress. And certainly in terms of work that's ongoing with the staff at Inverclyde Academy, the senior leadership team, both at Bunhill as well, the advisory group boards are very involved and very supportive, obviously. A key point of this now is to recruit member staff to take this forward. We've had ongoing open positive dialogue with the current P7 cohorts at Bunhill, so we know that we do have children who will want to attend the provision from from August, which is good news. The exact numbers I can't commit to, obviously the GDPR, I can't go into identify it. We've had very positive conversations with parents, and so the advisory group is overseeing now the next steps of this process.
Okay, Elizabeth.
That's really helpful. Can I just ask a wee supplement? So I'm looking at section 4.3 here, where within this consultation, we've had from HMI a kind of agreement, you know, yep, this could potentially bring educational benefits in Inverclyde if we take this step. Now that we're right on the cusp of taking this step, I guess I'm looking for assurance that external partners such as HMI aren't going to leave us floundering to do this alone, that there will be a partnership across the nationally and regionally to support us as we take what is undoubtedly a risk. It's the right risk, it's the right thing to do, but it's undoubtedly a risk for us to take this step in making this provision. And I would like us to do it in partnership with others who have kind of gone, yep, absolutely proceed, go ahead. And I'm looking for that assurance.
Michael?
Through you I can absolutely give you that assurance. I mean, this has been a journey over quite a long period of time. And I think one of the very positive things has been about the partnership relationships that have developed, including with the board, including with the parents around Windhill as it stands, but also as part of our research in terms of the options appraisal that we did, we brought to committee. We've reached out and we've worked with and made connections with other authorities who have secondary GME provision. So we have those relationships, and as part of that, we've also spoken to those within Education Scotland who are specifically needed for Gaelic, and we have an open dialogue with them. And Elaine McLaughlin, who's our officer who has the responsibility for this, has really networked exceptionally well to create those relationships. And part of the expectations we have those partnerships, and that's how we deliver part of the offer of the curriculum. And obviously, this all links through to the wider Gaelic plan for Inverclyde. So I can give you that with assurance.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Can I bring Natasha in next, and then Tommy? Natasha?
Yeah, thank you very much, convener. Just want to say this is actually quite exciting that we're going to start to have this provision within the area, and it's great to know that there's going to be children starting from August. I'm aware that Glasgow Gaelic School started off like this with quite small beginnings, and they've built themselves up, and they have a kind of mixed curriculum between Gaelic and English. I was just wondering, first of all, will we be getting another report on this before the beginning of the school term in August? And secondly, do we have a plan for what transitions to the new Gaelic unit, what that looks like, what that transition to high school will look like for our young people? I'm aware that it's just January and we've got to August, but I was just wanting to get that question in at this point of the journey.
Michael?
For you, convener, I'm more than happy to potentially bring in a regular update as part of the update report to committee, or we can make it a separate report, but certainly I'm happy to update the progress at the next committee. How much progress will be at that point, I'm not sure, but I'm certainly happy to do that. And obviously for those children who are attending, there is currently an ongoing transitional process going on within the cluster of Inverclyde Academy and its related schools, and we will build into that specific work around the provision of GME. Obviously that will be predicated on our recruitment. We're quite keen to see if we can recruit quickly to this, to have somebody in post, a teacher that might become known to them, but certainly that person might not be in post till August. That may be challenging, but certainly in terms of the staff that currently are with the children at Windhill and staff at Inverclyde, they're well known to one another through the ongoing specific transition arrangements. It's about beginning to develop the Gaelic side of that and bring that into that process.
Okay, Natasha?
Yep, and I'm happy, Michael, for you to bring that back either as an individual report or as an update, whatever you professionally think is better for us at this committee. That'd be great, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Tommy?
Yeah, thanks, convener. Michael, I'm happy to hear you're having the conversations with the pupils ward out of the school in Windhill to encourage them to attend the new Gaelic school in Inverclyde for secondary education. That was one of my questions, so I'm pleased that what's taking place now. But previously, I think maybe a couple of weeks ago, there was maybe a slight nervousness, maybe in the ability to recruit a Gaelic speaking teacher for 2024 term. So how's that progressing, and what's the plan B if we're unable to do that? Thank you.
Michael?
So through you, convener, I mean, that's always been that's a concern. This is a national concern, and certainly it's a question parents have asked us. We've got capacity potentially within the Gaelic team that we already have in around Windhill, that there might be an opportunity there to support, but clearly what we're aiming for is to recruit a teacher for August, and to promote, we're trying to be creative about this piece of recruitment, to try and sell the opportunity here to be part of the establishment of this, that might encourage somebody out there to come and work with us. We've got an open dialogue as well with Western Isles in respect to East Coil, so there are remote options for the facilitation of teaching of Gaelic, whether or not we will require that. But we're very aware of the offer that is there nationally as well, that we could potentially tap into. Our hope is that we'll be able to recruit somebody to post through August.
Thank you.
Okay, Tommy. Any other questions? I mean, I suppose for myself, it has been a journey, as Michael says, and I suppose that 4.3 is the key bit. The proposal is well received for its potential to strengthen the Gaelic community within Inverclyde. So for us, it's a step in the right direction. So I'd like to thank all the officers for all the hard work in getting to this position in the first place. In the words of the famous film, build it and they will come. So hopefully we'll see it continuing to improve in the future. So can we agree the recommendations? Thank you. And with that, can I finish our public business? Can I move the appropriate resolution for the next bit of business, which is in private? And this is your extra paper.